Hi, everybody. Wow, my voice is not ready to work today. Hi, guys. I've been quiet all morning. I didn't realize until just now. It is great to see you all. Um, I hope everything's going well. I'm just catching up on your chat that you guys have been having before I joined. By the way, hi, I'm Crystal and Sophia, your friendly astrological magician. And right now I'm helping to beta test a new astrological software that is pretty spectacular, actually. So I'm really stoked about it. I just learned about a new feature from the Discord and I was checking it, and it makes me even more excited about Jupiter's movement into Cancer today. Because Jupiter, even though Jupiter is within this arbitrary set of degrees that we would gauge as like, is Jupiter under the beams of the sun? Typically within 15 degrees of the sun, you would say the planet's probably in the sun's beams and not visible to the naked eye, except when the planet is up just a little bit or down just a little bit. And all these little tiny tweaks that you can only really tell by actually looking at the sky and measuring the altitude of the planet. We get those measurements in this new program. And Jupiter right now is technically visible close to the sun. Yes. So, like, not really visible in the sky, but not also in the beams. It's all in all just saying that Jupiter can do more Jupiterian things, which is good for us as Jupiter moves into Cancer, the sign of his exaltation. He can do more Jupiterian things that way, and we love it. So let me just get my bearings again. This is how excited I get about astrology. Apologies for that, but I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys. So, good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Russ. It's amazing to see you. Amber, thank you again for being our incredible mod. How is everybody doing this morning? Yes, I actually also do have a bit of the rant that I promised last week. I did some research. If that person who requested that rant is here, I would love a little bit more context on what your definition of the theory is. It's the Dolores Cannon theory. So I did some research. I didn't find a typical Dolores Cannon theory. She has a lot of theories. She got into a lot of the spiritual realm. So I did some research on her, and I can go into some of how astrology vibes or does not vibe with the theories of Dolores Cannon and others. So I can do that at the end of this broadcast, and I'd be happy to. All right. Cool. So I love Amber, especially those hearts. They make me really happy. I appreciate it. Cool. Awesome. Looks like I'm all caught up. Good morning, Danny and Liz. Hi. Okay, guys, this is probably one of my favorite days of this entire year. This is a day I have been looking forward to for over a year astrologically. So, why is that? Jupiter, the greater benefic, the one that we really look to for like abundance and joy and luck and that kind of stuff, is moving into a sign that he does really well in. For context, for the last year, Jupiter has been in the sign of Gemini. Now, Gemini is fine. If you have Jupiter in Gemini, my husband does, or if you are a Gemini rising or a Gemini sun, don't get upset that Jupiter is not at his best in Gemini. It just means that Jupiter is opposite of the sign that he would normally rule. So Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And on the other side of the chart from Sagittarius, we have Gemini. So because of this, Jupiter is considered in detriment. It's far from home. It's not what we're used to. It's feeling lost, like you don't have a map, that kind of energy. And so Jupiter has been in the sign of Gemini since May 25th of last year. But today, around 5 p.m. Eastern time, Jupiter will move into Cancer. And with that, we will find Jupiter in a sign of his exaltation. Now, this is actually different than domicile. The planets have plenty of opportunities to be great or not so great. So with this, we find exaltation. Exaltation is when a planet not just doesn't rule the sign, they're celebrated in that space. So think about, I like to use the Taylor Swift analogy here, right? So when Taylor Swift comes to a community, everybody goes out. They all buy the bracelets. They all buy the merch. They all go out to see her, right? She is exalted in that community when she arrives. She raised the entire economy of an entire city once. So that is exaltation. So Jupiter is the Taylor Swift of Cancer. And so Jupiter is moving into Cancer. Cancer is flipping out and celebrating it. And we get to keep Jupiter in that sign with this new dignity and this new ability to do even more than Jupiter would normally do, because yeah, he's got his own resources, but he's also sponsored, right? Think about Jupiter as getting resources from other people, getting sponsorships, becoming now the influencer of Cancer and having everything he needs, not necessarily because he did it himself, but also because it's supported by every energy from Cancer to do this. And so we get to keep Jupiter in Cancer between today, June 9th, 2025, at around 5:02 p.m. Eastern Time, until June 30th of next year. So this is excellent. And what I want to talk to you about today, and I think you guys would like it, is for each sign, particularly each rising sign, but it'll be all 12 signs. How lucky is this for you? So how in your sphere is Jupiter going to be? Where is this going to influence? Even if it's not one of the most angular parts of your chart, where are you going to find this extra boost of exaltation from Jupiter? Where are you going to find this extra energy of beneficence coming through? A small note on a lot that you're going to see on social media around this. Everyone's going to say that Jupiter is bringing incredible luck. Morning, Meg. It's great to see you. Everyone's going to say Jupiter's making everything lucky. Jupiter's making everything amazing. And Jupiter does, right? But for everything in moderation, right? So there is the opportunity that things are going to get really great here. And the one thing we want to do, and Saturn does help us with this, I'll show you on the chart in just a minute. The one thing we want to do is make sure that we don't get too carried away. The same thing with cake, right? Cake is delicious and I would eat it for every meal if I could. Frosting is my favorite food group. However, my body requires different things to fuel itself. So we have to make sure that we have cake at the right time in the right amounts. And then cake can remain an amazing, delicious treat as compared to what would eventually be kind of like a poison, right? So even too much water can be a bad thing at some point. So Jupiter in Cancer is going to go all out. And we just need to make sure that we in our lives make it go in a perfect manner that we can use what it brings for us. So, do I think you're going to have a problem with that? No. Am I going to tell you that if stuff starts feeling overwhelming, do you want to also maybe pull back on your Jupiter energy a little bit? That might be a helpful thing to do. So, I'm excited about this. And would you guys like then for me to go ahead and bring up the chart and start showing you what Jupiter in Cancer is going to look like and what it means for you individually based on your rising sign and some other things that I'll also kind of bring up because there are other reasons why Jupiter might pop off for you. So let me know in the chat, is this a good time to start that? I want to make sure we have plenty of time to cover it. And then at the end, I will go into my rant about the Dolores Cannon theory that was requested last week. So good morning, Sassafras Cat. What a great name. That was fun. Okay, cool. Let's see the beautiful chart footage. I am happy to oblige. So let me pull up the chart here. We just want our lovely Luna, and we can see Luna really well. Great. If I'm looking to the side, y'all, it's because I'm looking at the chart. I will look back at the camera to talk to you as much as I can, but I have a second screen with the chart up. So I'm not ignoring you or getting distracted. Trust me, I'm locked in. So what we have right now, if I update this to currently, for me, the sun's been up for a couple hours, as you can see, and Jupiter is right near the sun. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you want to do some math, Jupiter's about, what is this, 11 degrees away from the sun. Traditionally, ancient astrologers would have said around the 15-degree mark, Jupiter hits what's called phosis, which is when you imagine like sinking into water, right? You're above water and then you sink beneath it. And there's that point where you're just sinking into the water. This is the same with the sun's rays. Hey, Kathy. This is the same with the sun's rays. So Jupiter is sinking into the sun's rays right now. As you can see, the sun is actually by motion going to catch up to Jupiter. But because the sun moves faster than Jupiter, we're going to, from our perspective, watch Jupiter get absorbed by the sun's light. So that's why we're saying Jupiter is falling into the rays. It's not astronomically necessarily what's happening because the sun's moving faster because we're closer to the sun. Jupiter's further away. He moves slower. But that's how we're kind of seeing it. Oh, look, Jupiter's falling into the sun. It's fine. So, I mean, it's not Jupiter's favorite condition to be in. It's called being burned up and eventually combust. But then you get Cazimi and you get reborn and, you know, such is life. So Jupiter, though, if we were to be able to look at Jupiter in the sky with a telescope and protection from the sun, you would see that Jupiter is not actually made invisible by the sun's rays right now. So that general rule is a good general rule to follow, but then you also, because of modern technology, we have the ability to say, but actually, how specific can we get? And because I have access to that technology, I was able to do a little extra research and let you know, yes, Jupiter is still visible. So that's really cool. We see that Mercury kind of outpaced Jupiter a little bit. Mercury is super fast. So Mercury is already in the sign of Cancer. Mercury actually rules Gemini. So now Mercury is out of dignity, but Mercury can pretty much handle being anywhere except for the couple signs that are the detriments and falls of Mercury. Unfortunately, there are only two of those, and we're not near those right now. It's going to be quite a while, actually, before Mercury has any dignity problems. So if we go over here to Jupiter and we do this lovely little thing that we get to do here, we can go to zodiac sign transit and see the next ingress, which is today, 5:02 p.m. East Coast time. So I'm going to click on this in our chart. This is Jupiter in Cancer. So at that time, Jupiter will move into Cancer and we will start reaping the benefits of Jupiter in Cancer. Some of the things for Jupiter in Cancer may have already been building up for you. Also, keep in mind, though, the other benefic is also in a sign of her dignity right now. I'm so excited about this month. It's my favorite month of the whole year. I want months like this all the time. So, June, and I have to say, I'm excited about it for people on individual levels and individual senses. I acknowledge that we have some not awesome things going on right now, especially with what's going on in LA. There are some things going on there that I will probably be able to talk about next week in the context of the global or world astrology for the United States, and will make sense of why, with these two planets getting to be in a place where they would want to be, why these things are occurring. And so we will make sense of that. But for your personal manifestation purposes, this is a really good month for resources to be available. And so, because you are the one asking for those resources, I'm happy for you. Other people also have resources available to them who I wish didn't have resources as readily available. And that is something that we can get into next week. If you guys are interested, let me know if that's something you would like to hear, and I can get into that. I will absolutely be getting into it for the student study in our astrology lesson this month. For the solstice. So you can join the student study and we'll be going very deep on what that means, some things that we might expect, and making predictions on what's coming up so that we can feel prepared for it and also see when things feel better. So just keeping that acknowledgement in there because it's really important. I will get into this in my rant later. We cannot use astrology or spirituality to bypass reality. They are one and the same. They are part of each other. Reality and spirituality, they work together. So you can't use one to cancel out the other or ignore the other. They will eventually catch up to you. So I always want to make sure that I'm not doing the thing where I say, oh, Mars actually isn't bad. Mars isn't necessarily always bad, right? There's this really great way to use Mars energy where you apply ambition and you can get stuff done and you're rude to the person you need to be rude to at that moment in order to hold a boundary and stand your ground. But then there's also the Mars that like rules blood and cutting things. And we have to acknowledge that that exists in life. If we don't, we will be, kind of pulling ourselves back from the experience of the world and missing things. So, yes, Russ, no bypassing. With that, let's talk about you on a personal level and where this Jupiter move into the sign of Jupiter's exaltation, along with Venus being in the sign of her domicile, may be supporting you right now. Cool. Getting into it. Let's start with if you are, let's see, how do I want to do this so I don't boggle my brain? We'll start with Cancer risings and then we'll just go around the chart. Okay. So if you are a Cancer rising, this is going to be a transit. Meg, I felt that. I felt that so hard. I understand. I've also, side note again, I have done, even by mistake, even when I was trying to be conscious, I have fallen victim to spiritual bypassing on my own. I've gotten better at not doing it as the years have gone on, but especially during my Saturn return, I was like, I'm just going to be disciplined and I'm going to like really lean into the fact that I'm so spiritually wise. I got smacked down so hard. And then I was like, I have to mourn the life that I thought I was going to have. And Saturn was like, darn right you do. So then I did. And it wasn't fun. But on the other side of it, really good things came up. So in order to get things beyond what you thought you deserved, sometimes you have to break through those barriers. And bypassing doesn't help with that as much. So getting back into my Cancer rising, shout out in the chat if you are a Cancer rising, because I want to make sure that I'm addressing you guys as well, and maybe getting into some of your individual energy to be able to do a little bit more personal stuff, because you did show up to the live broadcast. I'm happy to do that. So with Jupiter in Cancer, this is your first house. You are a Cancer rising, right? So in ancient astrology, this would have been your sign, not necessarily your sun sign, right? At the time, your personality was more defined by what was rising on the horizon at the time of your birth. And so that, hey, Jackie, so that would have been your sign. You would have been a Cancer, right? I, by this definition, am a Scorpio, even though my sun is in Taurus. So Cancer risings, and also like if your moon is in Cancer, that's pretty important. If you're in a Cancer perfection year, this kind of stuff can also apply to you. If Jupiter is active as your time lord, that's another important thing where this may be something that you notice more. So keep those things in mind and just go along with me as we do this. Keep in mind if Jupiter is extra active for you, or if Cancer is extra active for you. If you don't know, schedule a consultation with me. We'll work it out together. I do that for everybody that I do a consultation for, and we'll find out which planets you're working with this year. Regardless, you probably already know your rising sign, so we'll start there. Cancer risings, this is going to be personality, life focus. So life direction and life focus, I'm going to differentiate here. I'll talk more about life direction when I get to the 10th house topics, which will be for for the Aries risings. So, actually no, that'll be for the Libra risings. So Libra risings, we'll get to life direction topics when we get to your sign for rising. And Cancer rising is going to have this glow up, right? So Jupiter exalted in Cancer, Jupiter's coming in, and you're going to be able to really find the beneficence of Jupiter in areas of your personal life, your personal decisions. The questions that surround and center yourself will be important. You may change your aesthetic. You may change your style this year. You may also change the things that are your priorities. There's a lot of things that get encompassed in personal life. So one of the great analogies that was used even in ancient times, today we would probably use a car. Back then they used ships. So their ship had the wheel of the ship, right? It was the helm. And so the helm is the other word for the first house. It is the helm of the chart. If you're going to use this like a car, it's your windshield, right? It's what you're seeing immediately in front of you, your next immediate step, and what your view of the horizon looks like from here. So it's the here and the now and the you and the who you are in this moment. And it tells us a little bit about your personality. You know, a Cancer rising tends to be someone who really likes to generate community and also feel a part of that community. Do not exclude yourself just because you are creating the community. Create the community that you can also be included in. It's very important. So you may find it's easier to do that this year. It's easier to visualize the kind of environment and energies you want to be surrounded by. It's easier to feel good about yourself and to learn the self-love, which is a very crucial lesson for everybody, but really for Cancer risings, especially because you're so good at giving love, you need to make sure you fill that cup. Right? You are a water sign, and you are honestly the quintessential water sign. And so if that cup is empty, you're still pouring because that's in your nature. Make sure you are pouring out of an overfull cup. Okay? So the way to fill your cup is to do things that you love, is to do things that make you feel appreciated, that make you feel seen, and make you feel valued. It's not arrogant to want to be appreciated for what you offer. And if you don't feel appreciated for what you offer, there may be a different circle, community, or place where people will more naturally incline towards appreciating what you offer. And you can go there and find your space. So those things may be easier. Those opportunities may come up very naturally for you this year. And I'm very excited for you. Cool. Let me just check in really quickly. Russ, thank you for the shout out about consultations. I appreciate that. It was awesome having a consultation with you recently. Amazing. And thank you, Amber, for encouraging and all the wonderful people who are giving the hearts and the likes and the things that help us be seen, speaking of, by more people who we might be able to help and feel included. Cool. So the second house, We'll move on now because if we want, we did the first house. So here's the fun thing. If we want to see who's going to have Jupiter in their second house, we're actually going to go to Gemini. So if you like turned this chart and put Gemini on the ascendant, and you'll see me turn my head like this because I'm picturing the chart with a different ascendant. So if I turn my head like this and I picture Gemini as the ascendant, then the second house is going to be Cancer. That's where Jupiter is. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way around to 12. So my Gemini risings, looks like Sassafras Kath is among you. I have a lot of Gemini rising friends. For some reason, throughout my life, Gemini has been the sign that I find myself around the most. I married a Gemini with a Gemini rising. My best friend is a Libra rising with a Gemini sun. My best friend from childhood was a Gemini. It's nuts. So Gemini energies, hi, I see you. We get along really well. So you're going to have Jupiter in the second house. Here's why I'm happy for you. Jupiter in the second house. The second house, okay, traditionally is called the gate of Hades. Now, it's called the gate of Hades because it rules finances. And so when they said back in old times, right, that money is the root of all evil, and it's the things that we get fixated on when we start kind of missing the point on what quality of life looks like, right? In modern times, Demetra George is really graceful in her way of reframing this. It's that which we use to support our livelihoods or to support our lifestyles, right? It doesn't always have to be money. Sometimes it's trading and bartering or experiences or whatever. When we get to Scorpio rising, I'll explain because you probably are already like, money's there and sometimes it's not. Like usually when I need it, blah, 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 blah. We'll get there. Trust me. I can't wait to tell you because it took me a long time to figure this out. But for our Gemini risings, you have Cancer in the second house. Jupiter is now coming in there. So you might find that your resources to do the things that you want to do, your finances to do the things that you want to do, or to build up your wealth and your sense of abundance may be more readily available. And that's your personal finances. So what you make individually from your own efforts, typically. There is a what you make from other people sign. We'll get there when we get to the eighth house, exactly opposite the second. The second is your money. The eighth house is other people's money. And I'll get to that as well. So this might be a year where you're really lucky when it comes to financial abundance or material abundance. Maybe it's not necessarily that you make a lot of money. It probably will be as well. But you may also find that like whatever you feel like, man, I wish I had this, it's on sale. Whenever you feel like, man, I really need this in my life because I'm having, I have this goal. Suddenly that stuff becomes available to you either because you found money in a random pocket or it's sitting in another account that you can use or something, right? You find it at a yard sale. You find it because a friend doesn't need it anymore. However that is, resources will find their way to you a lot more. This is an excellent year for thinking about your mastery of manifesting. So that's for our Gemini risings. Think about your material resources and how they're finding their way to you this year. Cool. I can't wait to get to the Aquarius risings. It seems like we've got some heavy representation. Love it. So now let's move on to Jupiter being in your third house. Everybody tip your head with me. We're going to start looking from Taurus. So if I count from Taurus forward in the signs, we have Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. The third one, Cancer, is where Jupiter is coming into. So Taurus risings, and I know some of you who watch this, you're going to have it in the third house. The third house is it's our first cadent house in the chart. And when I'm going to talk about cadent houses, the reason I say that is because they're very vague in their topics. So sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, this is what that looks like in reality, because they are the houses with the least amount of active energy. They're actually the restful kind of energy, right? It's what you do at the end of your day when you're getting ready to rest. That kind of energy, that dark moon energy, if we want to go back to Demetra George references, because don't I always? And so in the third house, we find things that are sort of 1 degree of separation away from you. So this can include your siblings, your cousins, your community. It also includes your conversations, paperwork. So thinking about like things that you write, things that you connect with, communities that you feel very included in. And these communities are sometimes, some people will put social media here because you have friends on social media that feel very close to you. So if it's a friend that feels like a sibling, they may also fall into here. That found family kind of energy may come into here as well. Cousins come into here. So that kind of, 1 degree of separation from you situation. Your local community will also be here. So the kind of community you find yourself surrounded by, which means that this year it might be easier for you to find community where you feel secure and safe and appreciated. And again, if you have Cancer in your third house, you might be someone who's pretty active with your community, or at least who desires to be. You may be the one who started the book club. And you may be the one who makes sure everybody has what they need. You're also a Taurus rising. You probably bring brownies to the book club because you want to make sure everybody's fed as well with good stuff. So think about the communities that you feel the most comfortable in and see if that is something that is a natural gift for you this year. Community that feels really good. Again, you can find this virtually if you live in a space that's not easy to contact the external world. I used to be in that position. So I really, really understand. And even up until recently, I didn't have many local friends. My community was very much online, or I would travel to them frequently. So if that's kind of your style as well, it makes sense. And you can do that. There are ways to do this. We have this kind of feature, right? You can have Zoom calls with your friends or play D&D online, which I do with my friends, and I love it so much. They're the best. So think about your community and think about relationships with people 1 degree of separation away from you, being like siblings, really close friends, or cousins. All right, awesome. Okay, moving, if we tip our heads again, or you can also just count 4 backwards from Cancer. So if we did Cancer and then went 1, Cancer being number 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to talk about Aries rising now. So my Aries rising people, this is going to be in your 4th house. Jupiter is ingressing into the sign of Cancer, which is in your 4th house, which means this is your place that you live. So this can represent your home life. This can represent your family. This can represent your upbringing, and it can also represent your ancestry. When you're looking at the chart, and we'll just use the chart the way it is, the 4th house right here is the bottom, right? So if we picture a tree overlaid on this chart, the leaves would be up here, right? But the roots would be down here. So we find our roots down in that 4th house. Traditionally, this is the sign of the father. Oh, also for my 3rd house people. So for my Gemini risings, the 3rd house is also the sign of folk magic and divination. If you wanted to get into that this year, that's another thing you could do. I never want to ignore that because traditionally the 3rd house is the sign of goddess. So take that for what you will and enjoy it. The 4th house traditionally is the sign of father because the father was the root of your genetics and your name and whatever. Modern time, we do kind of mix and flip flop a little bit on father and mother in the chart. Traditionally, father would have been 4th, mother would have been 10th, opposite from father. But sometimes, especially in more modern astrology, because the mom is the one at home a lot, or the more nurturing one in your stereotypical archetypes, you might find the mom in the 4th house. I find that it's a little bit different because of the dynamics that I grew up in, right? The one who kind of held order and that kind of stuff was one person. The one who gave more nurturing was another person. So you really want to think about that in like a psychological sense before getting into it. There are other things you can look for. And in a consultation, if you're like, I really want to understand this thing about me and my mom or me and my dad, we would find a way to get to the root of that. And speaking of the root, right, for our Aries risings, this is your root. This is the root space. So one of the things I always like to recognize with the 4th house is what is in your control. So of those topics, the thing that's most in your control, unfortunately, it's not your family. I'm so sorry. I get it. But the space you live in is more in your control. The decoration, the layout of the space you live in is much more in your control. You may find that this year you renovate the house. You may find that this year you move to a different home in a space that feels more like you belong there because we're thinking about that Cancer energy, right? And so this is your opportunity. And again, it'll come pretty naturally with Jupiter being there. Jupiter coming in is going to set you up for the opportunity to have good fortune and, an open path to 4th house topics. Your relationship with family may improve. You might go into like ancestry work and start figuring that kind of stuff out. I do find often past life stuff can also fall in here. I view that more on the ancestral beliefs realm. There's astrology attempts past life stuff. I'll get into that in my rant at the end in many ways. But this is one of the things that I look to most as a more traditional leaning astrologer. If someone's interested in their past, especially ancestrally, I would look to the fourth house to see where have you come from. I have found some validation for this as well with asteroid work. So I'm feeling confident about it, but I'm always learning and growing. So for our Aries risings, think about your home, think about your space, think about what comfort feels like for you and what you want in your space. I don't care what's trending. I don't care what the color of the year is. I want to know what you like in your space because you're the one living there. I may come to visit and I can have my opinions or whatever, but you're the one who lives there every day. So I want you to decorate that space or be in a space that is attuned to your needs and what rest feels like for you, what comfort and safety feel like for you when it comes to the way you shelter yourself. So that is for our Aries risings. um, okay, Misty, I see that it looks like you may be an Aries rising. Hopefully, this is the year. There are other indicators that would help us look at that on a timing wise that I would be able to get into in a consultation. But in lieu of that, I hope that this is your year. I hope that it comes around really naturally, especially since it's something you're wanting. Okay, so let's count back 5 now. Do it with me. We start at 1, 2, 3, 4, and Pisces risings will have Jupiter in the apothecary kitchen. Get it? Yes. Sorry. Pisces risings will have Jupiter in their fifth house. And epic for you, Pisces, you are traditionally ruled by Jupiter as it is. So Jupiter is also the ruler of your chart. This is even more influence from Jupiter that you feel, right? So the last year may have been kind of slow, kind of like, I wouldn't even say slow, but kind of varied. Like you want to actually do something, but there has been almost decision paralysis at the buffet kind of experience where so many things are popping off at once. It's like 25% of energy goes to all of it, and you want to give 100% on something. Now you're going to be able to give 110% to something, and it won't feel as draining. So with that, with fifth house topics, the cool thing for fifth house is this is where creativity falls. This is where children fall. This is where vacations fall and gift giving falls. Can you see like the really good stuff that happens here? Traditionally, this is the house of good fortune. And so good fortune is the stuff we like to do. It's where our recreation happens. Gambling also happens here because you're, playing with luck, right? Good fortune. So this might be your year to buy a lottery ticket responsibly and then see where it goes. But also, if you have any creative efforts that you wanted to lean into, if you wanted to be more into your vacations this year, that's a really great opportunity. If you are someone with kids and a family, then you might notice that that's even more warming this year and wonderful. And so thinking about the things that bring joy and make you feel expressive, those kinds of things can end up in the fifth house. So thank you, Amber. I love that you're doing this. So that's the kind of stuff you can be looking into for your year. Now, the fifth house, again, it's not one of the angular houses. So if it's more subtle in your experience, and this is going to go for all the houses that aren't angular, the angular houses are 1, 10, 7, and 4. 1, 10, 7, and 4. They make a big cross across the chart, right? These are where the most active moments in life happen. These are your plot points, right? And so if Cancer is not one of those for you, then it's not as active of a plot point, but it is still there. So it may be more subtle of an experience, and it may be in an area of life that's like, I'm enjoying myself this year. This is the year where I get to have fun, and that's one of my priorities. That's good enough. That's better than good enough. That's fantastic. Not enough people do that. And this year, if that's your goal, it's perfect. And I love that for you. Okay, so counting back by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. My Aquarius risings, we have arrived. So for Aquarius risings, Cancer is in your 6th house. Now, I'm going to say the scary part first. Don't get panicked. It's not necessarily like the scary thing. Traditionally, this is the house of bad fortune. Bad fortune because health can fall in here. Bad fortune because service can fall in here. Traditionally, this would have been where slavery fell. But because we don't do that, or you shouldn't, and don't, because we're not going to acknowledge that bad idea, it's also where your day job can fall. It's things you do in service for others that kind of help others get ahead and maybe less yourself, right? Unfortunately, that's the dynamic that is most applicable for us. So, things surrounding health, your systems and routines that support your daily life, your day job can end up here. So the good news is you've got the exalted ruler of that sign coming in. So this could be a year of good health, of good progress in your work, of good new daily routines. This might be the year that you find the health routine that you're like, man, my fitness style is this. I really love doing yoga, and I really love eating this kind of way, Mediterranean diet or something. Check in with your doctor for this stuff. Okay. I'm an astrologer. I am not a doctor. I have a lot of nutritional knowledge and interest, but I am not a replacement. So this is a good year to collaborate with your doctor and say, hey, I am ready to start feeling good. I'm ready for my body and I to get acquainted and to start cooperating. What can we do to work with this? It's a great thing to do this year. This is a great year to have natural ability to have good health, or to even find a job that you feel suits you the best as a day job kind of thing. The reason I specify day job is because there is a separate house topic that goes into career. Sometimes those work together, right? So, if your career and your day job are aligned, fantastic. But I will get more into like career, life's work stuff in just a few signs. So this is where your career, your life's your day job, your health, and your daily routines fall in. Why do I say daily routines? Because the choices you make every day are what compound into your general health. So, this is where I would also work in some stress management, physical stress management, which starts with mental stress management. We'll get into more spiritual stress management also in a couple signs. Everything falls in the chart somewhere. It's fantastic. Cool. All right. So, counting back, we're at 7 now, right? So, here's another really cool trick you can do. Since there are 12 signs in the chart, if you want to go to the 7th sign, all you have to do is hop straight across the chart. So 7th from Cancer is Capricorn. And now we're looking at our Capricorn risings. Shout out if you're a Capricorn rising. Hi. So for our Capricorn risings, this is the year where the sign that is traditionally known for marriage and partnership is located. Now, the funny thing is that traditionally they also said this was the sign of known enemies you are aware of. And the reason that marriage and enemies fall in the same place is kind of funny. It's like lawyers also fall here. It's the person you're working one on one with. Your clients also fall here. I work with clients all the time. Do I consider them my known enemy? No. But are they the person I am focused on one? Yes. So in a relationship, you are focused one on that other person. And in an enemy situation, you are also focused one on one with that other person. So think about the one on one relationships here, you and the other, that dichotomy. So traditionally, also, this is where contracts fall. And so anything that is binding, any relationship with someone that is like, I'm in this for life, or I'm in this because there are terms that say I am, will fall here. Actually, I don't know why I forgot to say this to my Pisces risings. Romance falls in the 5th house. So, as well as children, romance falls there too. So, this might be your Pisces risings where romance may be the a focus. And so how does romance start in the 5th house and then we get to marriage in the 7th? Well, some astrologers have thought out that romance is when you're dating and everything's really fun and spring like. It's Venus's joy in the 5th house, right? So it's very expressive and love and all this really great stuff. And then you move into the 6th house where you're starting to really negotiate like your resources and my resources. And then you move into the 7th house when they move in with you, right? And so now they're part of your life. They're part of the long haul. And that can be amazing as well. So this is the year of partnership, whether you start working with clients, whether you sign a deal with someone, whether it's a book deal or you're working on contract work, anything like that. This is the year of you and an other. So whoever that other is, whatever that other is, this is a year where good things are likely to happen with that. So keeping that in mind, this is another plot point of the chart. It's a big deal kind of space. It's you and your interactions with other people. Um, I do have that, and my student study tier has access to that, Russ, a diagram where all the charts are topics are available. So seventh house, other people. You also can Google it. There's a lot of Google ones. Mine has like a lot of extra fun facts and like a worksheet with it, but you can Google it and you'll be able to find the keyword topics, just so you know. So let's move on to the eighth house. So if we jump across to the seventh house and go one after that, Sagittarius risings. Just checking my math here. Yep. Sagittarius risings. We are working on your eighth house. Now, I can't wait to get to Scorpio risings because I'm going to go back to the eighth house for a second. For the last year, you have had Jupiter in the seventh house. Jupiter has been in detriment in the seventh house and is now moving to the eighth house. The eighth house has some kind of reputation to it traditionally. I'm going to give you the most intense word first, and then we're going to walk it back to what it actually means. So, traditionally, the eighth house was the idle house or death. Like, of course, because you're born death, right? Now, so what we're looking at here, don't worry. If you have Jupiter in the eighth house right now, it doesn't mean you're going to die. Specifically with Jupiter in exaltation in your eighth house, certainly doesn't mean you're going to die. There are other things that the eighth house covers. We've listed multiple topics for every sign or for every house in this discussion. We're going to do the same right now. The eighth house is the idle house. It is the house of other people's resources. Remember when we were talking about the second house and it being your resources? Well, the eighth house is the second house from the seventh. So it's the second house from that other person. It's their resources, resources that come from other people. This can include taxes, loans, inheritances, thinking about, finances and things that come not necessarily from your direct singular effort, but from cooperative efforts and from working with other people. I personally had a lot of fortune in the eighth house, and yes, I did die, but look, it didn't stick. We're fine. But I also find that the eighth house lot of fortune shows that I end up getting resources when I need them, usually from working with another person, like working with M. A lot of my abundance in life comes from working in partnership with another person. I do best when I get to work with someone else. So that might be something that you find this year, especially that working with another person helps you feel like you're getting ahead, helps you feel like you're finding easier access to abundance. This is where collaborative efforts can come in. You may also find that there are inheritances. Inheritances in the modern day do not always come from someone passing away. Now that nowadays you actually, and I know this because I've experienced it in cases, we're finding that some families are like, I want to give you your inheritances annually that you would normally get after I pass away, because if I give it to you after I pass away, you're going to get taxed on it. If I give it to you now, you don't get taxed on it. So like there are so many ways it can come through for you, right? Leave yourself open to the wonderful ways that you may see abundance come to you by working with other people or from the kindness of others. This does not mean that you have to feel like you're I don't know, you're not a charity case. But you may find that other sources of abundance are open to you this year, aside from the ones that you are directly working on yourself. So that's our eighth house. Now let's talk about people who have it in the ninth house. Cancer in the ninth house. You get to look at this chart like a regular chart, because the chart of this moment that we were starting with, when Jupiter comes into Cancer, is a Scorpio rising chart. My fellow Scorpio risings, all the stuff I said about the eighth house, if you have been having financial issues for the last year, I want to tell you why. Jupiter rules your second house of Sagittarius, and it has been in your eighth house in detriment. And so, Jupiter, in addition to being abundant and saying yes to all the good things, will say yes to whatever it is doing. So, if it is in the eighth house, you might find, especially if it's in detriment, it'll say yes to the person who does not have your best interests in mind. So, you may have had issues over the last year of certain things that come out of nowhere and are like, hey, you owe this, or hey, I'm taking this. That may have been a situation for you. I'm going to be honest, it was a situation for me. I am rebuilding this year in a heavy way. And so that I get to tell you now is over. It's over. And with Jupiter being the ruler of your second house, there is reason to feel confident that a lot of what may have felt lost over the last year will come back. and maybe not from the same exact avenue that it exited, but in a new way. So you will be able to replenish a little bit, not because Jupiter's in your ninth house, but because Jupiter rules your second. So your resources are kind of getting a boost here. So I just want to keep that in mind for you as an extra bonus, because this is something that you may have gone through over the last year. And that's a big concern for people right now. So hopefully it helps. Now, yeah, Russ, we talked about this in your consultation too, because I remember getting really excited about it. So with Jupiter in the ninth house, though, ninth house topics, this is the house traditionally of God. Now, there's also a house of goddess. So, not necessarily like capital G God, but this is where your politics and your religion fall in. Your spiritual practices also fall in here, right? Spirituality can be in it, like spiritual growth can be in a different area. I'll get to that in a second. But your spiritual practices will typically fall in the ninth house. Your religion is a spiritual practice. So you can, differentiate or combine as needed for your special way of practicing. This is also where higher education happens. This is also where your ethics kind of fall. And this is where foreign travel happens or publishing happens. And so there's a lot of the like higher level of things. Third house does writing, as we talked about. Ninth house does publishing. Third house does the more folk magic and divination. Ninth house does astrology and the higher magics, the ones that require more calculation. And so that's the kind of thing you can keep in mind. What kind of stuff are you doing this year that might be, this is when I'm searching for a publisher for my book. Hi, I'm searching for an agent for my book. This is when I'm doing a lot of foreign travel and it's just working. I will tell you, this is something that I guess I'm a little embarrassed about. When I first started working with my astrological mentor, it was in 2020. And I remember one day complaining to her, I was like, I don't know who I am when I'm not traveling. My natal Jupiter is exalted in the ninth house, and it is very tied in with very integral parts of my chart. So it really pulls a lot of my identity into it. And she was like, that's weird. I don't know anybody who's ever said that before, blah, blah, blah. And then 2021 hit and we were able to travel again. And my opportunities started getting up there again. And now I travel almost every month and I'm happy again. And I find ways to do this travel, not necessarily because I've got a ton of funding, but because it works when it needs to work. So another thing for my Scorpio risings, because of that Sagittarian second house, your bank account may not be the biggest number you've ever seen in the world, but you always have the resources when you need them. And it's a hard thing to trust that that's going to be true every time. But hopefully you have the same kind of situation. And I also might have a little bit of bias here because my natal Jupiter is exalted. But Jupiter will come through for you just, probably at the 11th hour. So this year, though, you might see that more. And so my special kind of recommendation to both my Gemini risings. Am I doing this in the right way? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. To my Gemini risings and also to my Scorpio risings. This is the year to open a good savings account as well, right? So if you feel like abundance comes to you only when you really, really need it, this is a good time to start saying, yeah, but a piece of this abundance stays. So feel free to take that into consideration as well. Yeah, claim it. Go for it. Let's see how much we can get out of this this amazing transit. This only comes around once every 12 years. So it's a pretty cool time to be alive. Cool. Now, that was the ninth house. Now we're going to go and so we have the seventh house. I want to do my math a little bit differently here. So the 12th, yeah. If I'm a Leo rising, Cancer is 12, 11, 10. Okay, Libra risings, 10th house. I just like to check myself sometimes because my mental math game is not awesome. So Libra risings, this is your 10th house. This is the house typically and traditionally where career falls. This is the house where recognition happens. This is the house where, it's the peak of the sun in your chart, right? It's the middle of the day. If we think about the sun rising, going throughout the day, culminating around noonish time, and then setting, then we can see like this is where the sun has its most energy. So they approximated that and they were like, this is where our charts also have the most poignant energy. My phone even went off, so I'll trust that. And so Libra risings, your careers may have a lot of abundant opportunities this year. They are fertile. They can grow. This is a great time for your career to be taking off. This is a great time to be leaning into caveat here, not what you think the market wants. So Libra rising, let's have a little heart to heart. The stereotype for Libra risings is typically that they're so good at finding balance that they will sacrifice their comfort or their boundaries to achieve balance between other people. This is not something that you need to do all the time. And I want you to make sure that in your career, you are a Cancer 10th house, right? So, with your career topics, you may find that you really want to create community where everybody feels loved and appreciated, and it's amazing. Start and lead by example. Show them what it feels like to have a community that feels loving and appreciative. Make sure that you are part of that. You are not on the outside of these things. You are the center of them. You are the balance. And it's this beautiful thing if you think about Libra as the scales, right? Libra is not the trays on the scales. Libra is the thing in between, the thing that does know balance and can see both sides of the situation. You have that skill. And so, as you're using your Cancerian energy with this Jupiter boost, you can now say, here's how we can feel closer together. Here's how we can feel safe. Here's how we can feel protected, nourished, and nurtured. Those are things that you might be able to lean into this year. And I got to tell you, Libra risings, lots of people are needing that right now. So, a very tangible proof for this is that we are in a time where a lot of people would like to find a community where they feel secure and safe. So if you feel like you know how to facilitate that, also make sure you're included in it. Don't leave yourself out. Okay. So that's our community stuff. Sorry, that's our career stuff. We're going to move into more community stuff right now. So going back, it's our Virgos who would have their four. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at Gemini. Yep, 11th house. Good. Virgo has Cancer in your 11th house. This is the house of good daimon. Daimon is the ancient Greek term for spirit. So this is the house of good spirit. Agathos daimon, if you want to pronounce it the way that they would have. And it's really pretty. So this is where actually the energy of like your guardian daimon, your guardian angel kind of energy would be. So you would have a very Cancerian moon-like kind of guardian angel energy. If you already know of a lot of your guides, if one of them fits that archetype, ask them like, hey, are you my daimon? And they might say yes. So it's a house of good luck. It's a house of good spirit. It's a house of your dreams, your ideals, your wishes, and friendship. Friendship being the friends you surround yourself with, but also that endorsement you get, the community that supports you. This, where the third house is like your found family, your friends, your close pack of people. The 11th house is who supports you, who pushes you on your way, who's in the crowd cheering you on when you're on stage. Those people are there. So you might find this year you have a lot of support towards achieving your wishes and your goals. Make your mood board right now and then shock yourself next June with how many things you've achieved on it. That's what I would do. So yeah, I was thinking Agatha too. Yeah. All right. So that's your Agathos daimon. Now let's move into the final house. So if you are a Leo rising, then Jupiter is coming. If you are a Leo rising, Jupiter is coming into Cancer, which is your 12th house. The 12th house is opposite of the 6th house. And so it shares some of the qualities there. It balances, right? So this is our house of what is traditionally known as self-undoing. This is where we would have put bad spirit. And I'm laughing because we've done a really good job over the years. It's also where we find unseen enemies. So like the assassin as compared to your rival. The 7th house would have your rival and the 12th would have the assassin. I'm not saying you're going to get assassinated. Don't worry. I really don't think you are. Trust me. If you have major concerns over that for valid reasons, I would love to do a consultation with you. We'll go into it deeper and make sure that we're being practical about this. However, not everything that happens in your 12th house is going to kill you. So sometimes the house of self-undoing is our vices. It's the stuff that we fall into when we're avoiding our feelings. Psychology has made huge strides for us in this area of our lives. So we can self-undo through therapy. We can self-undo through hypnosis. We can self-undo through personal development books. We can do these things in a very conscious way now, where we can face them and actually take this dark part of the chart and make it more visible, where we can embrace it and turn it into something that is stronger. And so this is a year of healing. It's a year where healing may be very easy for you, and the resources for healing will become more readily available and accessible. This is a year where if you wanted to learn a healing technique or do some spiritual development or go on a spiritual retreat, I just had a friend go on a silent retreat, those kinds of things where you work and discover yourself and let yourself process and oh, what's the word? I use it all the time. Anyway, you want to make sure that you're taking in everything. Integrating it is the word I'm looking for. You want to make sure you're integrating everything you want to be doing, everything that's important to you, and everything that you've been through. Remember, this is a 12-year cycle. There are many cycles happening in astrology, but this is one where you now get to have that extra integration, where it's easier. Also, again, accessing your spiritual abilities may be easier this year, but this is where we emphasize that you cannot, say it with me, you cannot spiritually bypass. You cannot, because that is actually doing the self-undoing vice thing. That's ignoring your feelings and letting that 12th house undo you. And would you rather undo or be undone? That's the question you get to ask yourself this year. So my recommendation, especially with this happening in the 12th house, is choose self undoing, because when you undo, you do remake. So self remaking can be another good thing. Give yourself a solid year to not have to do anything but heal yourself. And you can do that in really fun ways. You can write a book that helps you process things. You can work with a therapist. You can work with, I have a combination. I have my astrology and I have an astrologer. And I have really great intuitive friends that I go to for that. I do my divination. I work with my therapist and my team of doctors and all those things. This is the year where you want to say, what do I need to acknowledge? And sometimes I would even ask your body, hey, what am I missing? Because if you're feeling ill, illnesses can also fall here and also in that sixth house. And so if you're feeling ill, check in, get it checked with a professional who knows what they're doing and is passionate about it, but also ask your body at the same time, what do we need? What communication am I not catching here? How can I be with you and cooperate with you even deeper? It's one of the things I'm doing, not because of my 12th house with Jupiter, but because of my 12th house and my solar return this year being activated by perfection. I'm joining you in this journey, just from a different avenue. So trust me when I say that this is going to be an excellent year for your healing. And you can do that, like I said, in fun ways. It doesn't have to be like, oh no, it's my year of healing and I don't get to do anything. This is big work. It's active work. This is the training montage that makes you into the hero that you already know you're going to become. So honor it. Take your time. You have plenty of time. Grace and ease are words that I would give to Jupiter in Cancer. So everybody type it in the chat. Say it with me on the video. Grace and ease. That's a great mantra to be able to repeat to yourself this year. And with that, we only have 3 minutes left. So I will have to save my rant for probably next week or the next opportunity I get. It is listed. I have the research done. Don't worry, I'll do it. But we will be able to do that next week. Now, as I do have a couple minutes left, I can probably take a quick question or two on anything that someone wants to ask. So pop it in the chat if there's something that you feel like you didn't really quite catch or you would like a little bit more on, and I'll try to answer that. I have to stop at 11, but I'll do my best. So that was fun. I didn't realize it was going to take me the full hour, but thank you guys for bearing with me on that. I hope, did it help? Does it make sense? Was it useful? If you want a consultation for yourself, please feel free to schedule a consultation with me on my website, crystallandsophia.com. If you want to learn more about astrology and folk magic and join our book club, you can join us at the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom, which is the Crystal and Sophia Patreon. I try to make it easy. It's my name everywhere, just so it's easy to find. Thank you, Meg, for being here. It'll be great to see you next week. And so as well with all of you, it seems like everything is processing pretty well. I know that was a lot. So usually at the end of a conversation like this, there aren't a lot of questions as people are just sort of integrating, very 12th housey kind of thing. And happy Pride, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Any advice on those learning healing techniques? My first advice for anybody learning healing techniques, find a mentor or a resource that you trust. Do deep research, because there are a lot of people out there who are trying to sell you healing techniques that are either bypassing or appropriating from other people. I have my opinions on that. I can get into it at a different time. But if you're thinking about that, hey, Conchetta, if you're thinking about that, then I would recommend that you just do some research on the person that you're thinking about trusting your healing learning journey to. But also, Liz, you have excellent judgment, so I trust what you're getting into. Um, but at the same time, are you coming to Iceland? Because we can always talk about it there as well. If that's what you're thinking about getting into, we can have tons of time in Iceland to talk about healing techniques. Currently, in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom, our folk magic lessons are focused on theta healing. So if you want to get into a healing technique, now is the perfect time because we start this Thursday really getting into theta healing and learning that together. I am a trained theta healer, advanced level. So I will be able to help you out there a lot. We have books that we'll be able to read as well. And we're going to make sure we read the books and then also think about it individually and independently. So this is a really great time for that. And I hope that this has all been helpful. I'm going to do that. Cool. So thank you everybody for joining me today. I'll be back next Monday with another Monday Magic Mood Boost where we will cover the solstice coming up because I'm going to be gone the Monday after that. I'll be in Iceland. So thank you all. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful week. We also have a Sagittarius full moon coming up and everything we talked about Jupiter, that rules that full moon. So a wonderful time. I will see you guys very soon.